Hey there, my name is Caden and I'm doing the annotations for Kubla Khan.
First, we're going to start off by looking at the title, Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a Fragment. Doesn't give very much information other than the fact that it might be a vision or a dream. Maybe it's talking about Kubla Khan because that's the first words and it's written by Coldridge.
Alright, now to start off with the poem. In Zandu, Kubla Khan creates a dome building created next to a sacred river named Alpha. The river runs through an underground caves and into an underground ocean. There's 10 miles of fertile land next to walls and towers, and there's gardens with sunny streams and good smelling trees, and also an old forest with sunny fields. Pleasure, fertile, bright, blossom, ancient, and sunny all kind of give off positive vibes, so I would say this is a positive place. I drew it right here. Here's our dome of pleasure. I'm not really sure if that means anything. Maybe like a certain thing that happens that's pleasurable. And so then we have trees, sunny river, we have a cave into an ocean, and we have our walls and our towers and our 10 miles of fertile land. All right. Next, we have the gorge and that's beautiful and impressive between the cedar trees. It's so sacred that you might expect to see a woman crying to her demon lover underneath the moon. Out of the gorge is a river with a geyser that would erupt like the earth is breathing hard. And it would send rocks flying into the air like hail, and grain being scattered. I got that from the Thresher's flail right here, where it's talking about the chafy grain beneath the Thresher's flail. And the geyser also sends the sacred river water into the air. The sacred river had a slow current that ran for about 5 miles through the woods and fields before it reached the caves and then the underground ocean. And Kubla Khan could hear his ancestors' voices predicting war. The words savage, haunted, wailing, ceaseless turmoil, vaulted, tumult, and lifeless kind of give a negative connotation, like crazy or possibly just bad connotation. I highlighted these portions in yellow to show the different literary devices. So line 21 is a simile used to compare the huge fragments to hail, probably to show the size and ferocity of the fragments. Line 18 is a personification, and it's shown to show the geyser pushes out air similar to someone breathing hard. There's another thing of personification on line 23. It's used to show how the rocks are moving through dancing. And then line 12 is the line it says it's a deep romantic chasm. Now this one's kind of odd. It's a metaphor, and it's used to give light to the creativity of the poet. And here I drew our picture. And so here's our gorge with our Satan woman who is crying to her demon lover. I drew a pentagram for that. And it says, I know I didn't mention it, but it's talking about a green hill that's next to it and some cedar trees. And here is our this is to show that our geyser is right here. It's shooting out some hail-like rocks, with some trees next to some trees, and our slowly moving sacred river, and our cave going into an underground ocean. And here's our ancestor talking about war. The next piece of this poem is talking about the dome shadow reflecting off of the waves, and how you could hear the geyser and the water in the caves. And if we look at the back, then we see there was no other place like this, and it was sunny and also had icy caves. So I drew our dome of pleasure and its shadow reflecting off some waves. Shows how icy it is, and our sun. And here's some music notes to show that you could hear it from the caves. Here's our cave right here. All right. And finally we have, he's talking about how he's envisioning an Ethiopian woman playing a stringed instrument. And it's called an Abyssinian. And also how she's singing about a mountain, an Ethiopian mountain called Abora. I could recreate. He's talking about how he could recreate the instrument within himself, and it brings him so much happiness that he could build a dome in the sky, the dome of pleasure, that is, that had icy caves and a sun. Everyone who heard the song would look up and see the dome and say, "Look at his shining eyes," because he's on the dome. "Look at his shiny eyes and flowing hair." And then they would make a circle around him 3 times and say, "Don't look at him. He's eating honeydew and drunk. He's drunk the milk of paradise." So these words, revive, delight, sunny, cry, floating, flashing, and holy dread in paradise, kind of give off a connotation that he's a god. You know, it'll bring into our theme later about reality, but I'll talk about that later. They're kind of happier words. Maybe cry would be more of like a happy cry rather than not a bad cry, you know. Now we see this is the picture I drew for him. We have the Ethiopian woman. I drew Africa. I don't know if Ethiopia is in Africa or not, but it's kind of around that area. She's singing. Those are the music notes, and there's the mountain of Bora, and there's him. And I drew the notes inside his brain to show that that's what he could like recreate it with his flowing hair and like flashing eyes. And there's 3 people around, like 3 rows of people around him. Here's the dome in the sky and the sun, and there's some ice on top of that right there. Like, you know, icy caves, because he's happy about those things. Otherwise shown by that right there. And so I'm going to draw this cow right here to show the milk of paradise. And yeah. And finally, we have our 2 themes, reality and nature. Reality can be described, the way you see reality is he has a almost twisted version of what he believes to be true. He believes that he's a god. He believes that people will revolve around him 3 times, and that he has floating hair and flashing eyes, and things that probably are not or have never happened. And then we have nature. So throughout the poem, it's kind of hard to escape how much he has been describing these different places, like the caverns, or maybe the underground ocean, or it could be anything. So if we go back to our title, then we see that we were correct about describing it. It's pretty spot on when it comes to the themes, talking about a vision and a dream, if you relate that to reality. And it's all about Kubla Khan and his interpretation of the world around him. All right, well, that's the end of Kubla Khan. I hope y'all enjoyed. Caden's out.